What's happening, everyone? Hope you're having a great week. To me, the weather's starting to break, get a little bit warmer maybe each day. Nights are still kind of chilly, which is okay. But that means summer's right around the corner, which is exciting. And it got me thinking. I was like, my whole life I've been have the opportunity to actually have a pool. And I remember that when you sit back and you get the pool all ready, you get everything clean, prepped, ready to go, and then you start to put the hose in to start to fill the water up, man, you're like, man, is this going to take forever? Especially as a kid, you're like, man, how long is it going to take to fill this pool? You got this little hose, you got this big pool, and you're like, man, I just want to go swimming. But when you leave that hose in there and you let it just kind of run and keep on running, and you come back, an hour or two later, and like, whoa, I got 6 inches of water in there. Hey, I got, 2 feet of water in there, and it just keeps, next thing you know, it's full. And it got me thinking about where it says in Mark 4:24, where it says in the Amplified, it says this: the measure of thought and study you give to the truth you hear will be the measure that comes back to you. Think about that. When you became born again, you're like, man, that was just like an awesome moment. I am born again. But then you're like, okay, now what? And now like the journey begins of where you start to get the revelation of what really Jesus paid for. And I got to thinking, I was like, hold a minute, then really everything is, because when you read the word, it's like all things are possible. But in your heart or in your mindset, you're like, man, I don't know. I don't know about that. And I realized it's like God is working with all things possible on his end and trying to bring us from the measuring sticks that we have in our heart that may not line up with that all things are possible. The scripture says some receive 30, some receive 60, some receive 100-fold. You got to think about that. Those are measuring sticks. And maybe you're only receiving 30-fold return in health, maybe 30-fold return in finances, maybe 30-fold return in relationships. And you have to sit there and realize, okay, what am I hindering or I say allowing to prevent that 30-fold to grow to 60 to 100-fold? And it's like you're always wanting to try to find out so you can clarify that so you can continue to move into that 100-fold, all things are possible. When we became born again, we didn't make a decision going, you know what, I just want to be a mediocre Christian. That's fine for me. That's good enough. I don't really care. Mediocre is great. No, it's not great. Actually, it sucks. And anything. Who wants to be mediocre in anything? You know what I'm saying? It's like brushing only like your top teeth and never brushing your bottom teeth. It's this, you just don't do it. So I heard this statement that said this. It said, the image or picture in your heart of yourself or God is a prophetic image of your future. Let me say that again. The image or picture in your heart of yourself or God is a prophetic image of your future. Think about that. If you really want to have all things are possible, then really in a sense, what's that image on the inside or the measuring stick in your heart saying? Do you truly believe all things are possible? Or do you just say all things are possible? But deep down, you're like, man, they're all almost possible. I believe they're 8 out of 10 possible or 4 out of 10 possible. And that could be in multiple areas. You can be like, I'm 4 out of 10 in those finances, but I'm 7 out of 10 in health, and maybe I'm 8 out of 10 in relationships or whatever it is. If you are really pushing towards all things are possible, then it comes back to Mark 4:24, which says the measure of thought and study you give to the truth. Either you're going to give weight to the truth or you're going to give weight to non-truth or man's wisdom. And nobody wants to be 50-50. People would love to be 100% right. And when we have the mind of Christ and we're tapped into that, the mind of Christ knows all things. We have pure access to that. So I just want to leave you with this. What is the image or the picture in your heart of yourself and of God? Is God good? Has God provided everything for me? Or am I looking at him like, yeah, he's done this, but, well, he said he'll do this, but, well, I believe I can receive this, but. Is there any buts, per se, that are hindering you from walking in that 100-fold return? I really want you to think about that because we have to raise our level of expectation. If you look at the word expectation, it's intense anticipation. Intense anticipation. So that could be positive or negative. So if a situation comes to you, are you instantly thinking about the problem going off the deep end to the extreme? Or are you thinking about what's the promise or what God told you, how to address that situation? So think about that. I really appreciate your guys' time. Apologize for going a little bit longer, but if you guys have any questions, definitely do not hesitate to reach out to me. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thanks.